If you haven't seen the Bring It On movies, you probably at least know what they're about. I think that these movies are the reason for that cheerleaders face such bad stereotypes today, because everyone knows it's the popular girl in school that prances around in a miniskirt and kisses all the boys, basically. But that's what I'm here to change today. Most people have at least heard the term competitive cheerleading, but they can't seem to get the Bring It On image out of their head. I want to change that today. Today I want to inform you about the exciting sport that we call competitive cheerleading. First, I'll tell you about the history and background of the sport, and then we will talk about the dangers of the sport. After that, we'll briefly explore the debate of whether cheerleading should be classified as a sport. You might be wondering what the difference is between the cheerleaders that you see on the sidelines of the football game and the competitive cheerleaders that I'm talking about. According to Varsity.com, all-star cheerleading squads exist solely to compete. Their routines are all entertainment, and they compete based on age and difficulty level. Competitive cheerleading has a unique background. Although competitive cheerleading did originate from high school cheerleading, the two are completely different. High school and college teams began holding small local competitions just to compete against each other, and eventually this took off and teams began forming just for the reason to compete. All-star teams have no affiliation with any sport or school. These competitions are getting bigger and bigger, and now it's not uncommon for a national championship to attract a couple thousand spectators. The largest national championship held every year is in Dallas, Texas, and this is a picture from 2015. The most controversial and obvious change to competitive cheerleading would have to be the gender makeup of the sport. Before, it was mostly a female sport, and males were not prohibited from participating, but they were mocked or made fun of when they did. Now, having males in the sport is a big deal of competitive cheerleading, and there's even co-ed divisions for these teams with guys to compete in. Adding these guys to the sport has made it possible to add a lot more difficulty and new skills that we would have never seen before. Along with all the changes competitive cheer has seen, it has also seen a lot of danger. Journal of Pediatrics recently deemed cheerleading the most dangerous sport for females because of risk of head injuries and concussions and stuff like that. This is a picture of a girl from California that was in a tumbling crash during competition and bled up in her head. Cheerleading has not only evolved in competitions in gender makeup, but also in skill level. USASF guidelines in 2015 said that skills are allowed up to 1 flipping and 2 twist rotation. This would have never been allowed 5 years ago. These higher skill levels are becoming more popular and more legal, and so the risk of difficulty obviously is risk of danger is obviously going to increase. At Worlds 2015, the World Championship of Cheerleading, there were 7 broken legs and ankles, 3 broken noses, 2 broken arms, 1 dislocated knee, and 1 broken neck, plus many other minor injuries. This took place in the time span of 3 days. Now, I think it's pretty obvious that cheerleading is a dangerous sport, but people don't realize that it's also dangerous in the future as well as right now. The pressure that the athletes put on their body is unbelievable and can obviously cause joint and bone problems in the future, such as arthritis. As a cheerleader myself, I've gotten knee problems that I will live with for the rest of my life, not as a result of a specific injury, but just from years of putting that pressure on my body. We just talked about how cheerleading is the most dangerous sport. Did you catch that? Cheerleading is a sport. Let's get into the very popular debate. According to dictionary.com, a sport is defined as an athletic activity that requires skill or physical prowess. So let's take this step by step. Skill, that's not really a question whether cheerleading is a sport. How many people do you know that can flip their bodies across the mat backwards at 10 miles an hour? It's also obvious that physical prowess is required for cheerleading because these athletes have to endure 2 minutes and 30 seconds of non-stop action, including jumps, tumbling, stunts, pyramid, and dance. The competitive nature of cheerleading is at the very core of competitive cheerleading. Like I said earlier, these teams exist for no other reason than to compete. So by definition, competitive cheerleading is a sport. If that's not enough evidence, consider that cheerleading is aired on ESPN multiple times a year, including national and world championships. Enough of that, it's pretty obvious that cheerleading is a sport. All in all, the changes that over the last few decades, cheerleaders are not really recognized for their hard work and dedication put into their sport, or the danger they put themselves into to excel at what they do. I hope I've adequately informed you of this great sport, and I hope that one day cheerleading will be seen worldwide for what it really is, a sport that promotes teamwork and hard work. And remember, athletes lift people. Athletes lift weight, cheerleaders lift people. Thank you.